Coming up on today's Next Fan Up podcast.
I think I saw God for about two seconds, and then I kind of just sneezed for 20, but I don't want to do that again.
You see, Jay, that's how you do a stat.
Well, it's certainly a team with a better offense, that's for sure. Better defense. Wow, James just can't stop.
Yeah.
Wow, you foreigners are weird.
It's a long one, but it's a good one. It's week 13 in the NFL. Here we go.
That's how we start. Yeah, baby.
32 super fans.
Where do the reports come from? Did you get an initial?
One pod Vader.
That's football.
Every angle of the NFL covered.
All that kind of stuff, I get it.
This
No question about it.
is Next Fan Up.
We're going to unleash hell here in December.
Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of the Next Fan Up podcast. Hey everybody, Pod Vader here. I've got super fans. I've got Doc. I've got a Week 13 preview that's going to start with a Week 12 recap because we had Wednesday football. But before we get into all that, I might as well bring in everybody who's joining me. Super fans first from across the pond. It is our Washington football team super fan, Neil. Hello, Neil.
Hey, guys, just a bit concerned.
The pipes are playing in the background.
I'm just a bit concerned about James. I think he's in a bad mood. I think he's in a huff, Jay, because I told him his Watchmen series was like watching paint dry.
I mean, he's mollywopped.
Thank you.
A lot of inside jokes. Eagles superfan James is probably going to remain silent as he continues to be angry at Neil for his comments about the Watchmen.
Nah, nothing. I can, pipe up like some old crankster and just get off my yard.
Doc is the award-winning gridiron chef who's joined us frequently and provides us a recipe every week. Hello, Doc. How was the Thanksgiving feast?
It was a delicious football week all around. As a matter of fact, I'm bought some horse-looking carrots, and I'm just making a gourmet carrot soup. Got to start eating healthy, after the fatty, dirty sweatpants type of week. So,
well, and just like a good Thanksgiving feast, Week 12 in the NFL lasted quite a few days.
The meal was better than the football on Thanksgiving. That's for sure.
I think I'm thinking, Doc. How about the gridiron griddle? That could be your next book.
There you go.
Look at that.
Griddle.
All right, send us those emails, nextfanup@gmail.com. I did get a few. One we'll talk about later. One comes to us from Josh, who, again, just wants to reiterate, we should have gone with his cruise ship email. Should have taken it seriously, he says. That was the idea of every team has their own cruise ship, and they bubbled on cruise ships to play the football season. Would have been interesting, but I don't think you can play football in moving water.
That works for the coastal states and teams, but what about the landlocked teams?
No, the landlocked teams would get their own cruise ship, so they'd all be on. They'd all play in like the Gulf of Mexico, or it'd probably be better to put them somewhere like on a freshwater lake, so the water doesn't move as much.
Yeah.
Sounds like way too much travel for me.
You could put the Eagles on there. They've had a sinking feeling all year.
Ah, there we go.
Hey, we already carved the Eagles up on Thanksgiving Day when we had turkey.
Could we have like Wayne Newton type of entertainment on the cruise ships and
sure,
stuff like that, and once we get one COVID case, we just refer to Petri dishes and things like that. So
I don't know how COVID would make it onto the cruise ship. That would be the problem. See, that as soon as COVID ended up on the cruise ship, people would be like, whoa, this wasn't supposed to happen. Much like Lamar Jackson said, whoa, I did everything right. How did I get this? Clearly didn't do everything right. All right. Send those emails, nextfanup@gmail.com, at NFU Podcast on Twitter, facebook.com/NFU Podcast is where you can catch us there. Also, very happy to talk about Thrive Fantasy, where if you use our promo code NEXTFANUP, all one word, doesn't have to be uppercase or lowercase, just make sure it's all one word, you're going to get a match on your first deposit minimum of $20 up to $50. So go to Thrive Fantasy, download their app in the App Store or the Play Store, or go to their website, www.thrivefantasy.com, and sign up to play. It's pretty easy. There you go. Next fan up is the code. Get a match on your deposit. Make some money. And then let me know how much money you made, because I like to hear that sort of thing.
Yeah, send me some.
Sure, that too. Hey, kids. Who was that guy from way back in the day? Hey, kids, tell your parents to send me $1. All right. Bye weeks this week, Tampa Bay and the Carolina Panthers, and that will do it for the bye weeks, assuming there are no COVID bye weeks, although I'm sure there's probably going to be. But officially scheduled bye weeks will be all done after this one.
Straw poll pod.
Yep.
Everybody here. Do we finish out this year at, no expenses? Like for me, I think it completely changes the whole dynamic of the NFL playoffs. If we move to that extra week, then we're going to have a double bye, and we're going to have a bye for everybody that's in the playoffs. And I think that changes the whole chemistry. Your thoughts? You know what I mean? What's the sense of playing for the number one seed? You want to be off for 2 weeks, potentially?
No.
Yeah, that's just it.
I hear everything you're saying, but too much time off, and some of the younger players on these teams just, I don't want to say they get up to no good, but expect to see a spike in COVID cases.
Yeah, amen.
Well, that would be the other problem. That'd be the other unintended consequence.
So a good intended, yeah, I understand, but nah. Between the young players and the knuckleheaded veterans who still haven't learned anything, you'll have an outbreak.
Yeah,
I think it's different for us over here because this time next week, the vaccine will be getting rolled out. So that's great news for here in Scotland. If anybody's going to survive in this planet, it's going to be the Scottish. So.
The vaccine. That's all I hear. The vaccine's not going to solve everything.
Well,
it's going to
it's going to sort a lot of things out. And it's starting next week, Jay. There's general excitement over here, and the world can slowly get back to normal. So that's good news.
Well, hopefully, but I don't think the vaccine is going to get everything.
Have you guys had a COVID test?
Yeah, there will be no back to normal.
No, I have not, Doc.
I just had my first one 2 weeks ago. After a scare.
How fun was that?
Well, I got a septum problem in my nose. So believe me, having something jammed up to my brain, I think I saw God for about two seconds. And then I kind of just sneezed for 20. But I don't want to do that again. No way.
No, I can't imagine you would. All right. Speaking of COVID, the reason why we had a game yesterday was because the Ravens dealt with a COVID outbreak. They certainly showed it on the football field. The Steelers won 19-14, but the score really doesn't indicate how much this game was just terrible. And not just the Ravens. The Steelers decided not to show up to this game either.
I have to disagree with you a little bit there, Pod. Typically,
how
these
so?
two teams play.
I definitely don't want to get too much into this because we'll use some of what happened yesterday to talk about the previews, and both these teams are playing later.
The short statement is that when these two teams get together, the game is always ugly. Doesn't matter who wins. It is by far some of the ugliest football you've ever seen, but this is how these two teams play against each other. That's their history.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about two. Whenever it's division teams coming together, and then you've got the complication of the timing of the game. I actually thought the Ravens did, considering the players they had missing, including their quarterback, who's arguably their best player. Then I thought the Ravens actually put up a reasonable showing in consideration. I thought the Steelers looked really sloppy, really sloppy.
There is really no excuse for the Steelers to show up sloppy.
Yeah.
And some of the excuses that I'm hearing for the Ravens about the players that they used, but the thing is if you're using your backup quarterback and your backup center and your third string running back, those three players all practice together. There's no reason for them to be as sloppy as they were.
Yeah, but then they haven't practiced much in the last 10 days or so.
Right. Remember, they couldn't practice over the last 5 days or so.
Yeah.
Walkthroughs and virtual meetings is not practice.
I think it was an extremely ugly game, but I think you're being a bit harsh there, Jane, and that's because you're having a very difficult season yourself.
That has nothing to do with it. The other part of the harshness is I agree. When the Ravens and the Steelers get together, it's usually an ugly game, but it's usually because of great defense.
Sure.
And they're running the ball like crazy. There was no running of the football, and the receivers were dropping the ball like crazy. How many drops did the Steelers end up having?
I think it was 8.
I lost count after 6.
Yeah, I think it was 8.
I lost count after 6, yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm talking about.
We halfway through the second quarter, you had more turnovers than first downs.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
And look, when they ran the ball with Griffin, it was overly effective. I mean, he had 65, 70 yards rushing total.
Yeah, but most of it came on one run.
Yeah, still. It got them first down, and it kept them moving the ball down the field.
The Steelers had better get themselves sorted out because they've got a big game this week against a top team. So,
well, it's certainly a team with a better offense. That's for sure. Better defense. Wow, James just can't stop.
He's just seen. Have you just seen the preview for the next Watchmen series?
Oh God!
All right,
that was a good one. That was a good one.
The Ravens still. The Ravens still have a 77% chance of making the postseason.
Yeah,
no. They only face one more team with a winning record, but whatever. Yeah,
but the Steelers are division champs now, right? They can't catch them.
They're out. They're out.
No, they're not.
They're out of the division race.
Can the Browns still catch them?
No.
Yeah, the Browns can.
The Browns can, but they won't.
No.
By the way, I didn't get notification of clinches.
No, that hasn't yet. No.
But
there are no scenarios this week.
There are no scenarios this week. There was a scenario this week. If the Steelers won and the Dolphins had lost, the Steelers would have clinched a playoff spot, but that didn't happen.
Okay, so there's that.
So there must still be some scenario for the Steelers to clinch this week.
Yeah. I've got to say, though, that I feel...
Yes, but not the division.
I feel a little sorry for the Steelers because everybody's saying, this is the worst 11-0 team in history and all the rest of it. I've got to tell you, and people say, they're lucky and all the rest of it, but any team who starts the season 11-0, they're going to have luck along the way. That's just how these things go. So I find some of the criticism over the Steelers harsh. They're 11-0, and they should be congratulated for that.
Sure, but they played a soft schedule. They have, and they've only led it at halftime, I think, 4 times or whatever it is. I heard the stat, but yeah.
The schedule's nothing. That's not their fault. They've gone out and they've won their games. Look at the Chiefs. Chiefs, you would say, are possibly a better team and would be the favourites to beat them, but they've lost a game. So it's kind of. I think there should be more. I think there should be more plaudits towards the way the Steelers have played so far and got themselves to 11-0. They've also lost. Now they lost their star inside linebacker at some point midway through this season. They lost, I think, Bud Dupree last night. It was Devin Bush they lost, wasn't it, early on? And now they've lost Bud Dupree. I think they've had injuries. Didn't the center miss the game last night? And I think
didn't play. Connor didn't play.
So I think we should be saying, bloody well done, Steelers. That's a fantastic start to the season.
Well, and now I still contend Mike Tomlin is Coach of the Year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Russell Wilson is Player of the Year.
No, he's not.
MVP. He is.
No, he's not MVP.
No, he's not.
Not MVP.
No. He's not in the top.
Guys, he's never received a vote.
Congratulations. He'll receive a vote, but he won't win.
He's not going to get. He's not going to
receive a lot of votes.
No, he's not
going to receive a lot of.
No, he's not even in the top 3 anymore.
Well, he's still got 4 weeks to get all the
cakewalk. He'll get back in. He's got a cakewalk here and in. So,
all right. Let's get to the Pigskin Pick Em now, if you don't mind. Last week, I ended up tied for first with 13 correct straight up in our Pigskin Pick Em group on ESPN.com.
Move along, Jay. Speed it up. I've been here for 43 minutes, and we're not even on game 1 yet.
Only 10 right versus Vegas, but that's a huge improvement over recent weeks. Power rankings got 11. Niner Gary is still perfect in our eliminator. Not that it matters anymore. He's won, but we'll see how long he can go undefeated. If you can make it to the rest of the year, if you can pick versus the Jets the rest of the way, you should be okay.
I'd like to hear. I'd like to hear this guy's strategy. So if you could email the show or call in or something, just give us a bit of a heads up, because that's very impressive in this season of all seasons.
Yeah, he's done pretty well, and he hasn't picked against the Jets every single week. So that's
good for him.
That's been what's good working for him. I do not have any totally useless stats for you this week. I did get some very useful stats from Fansided that I'll sprinkle in through my picks. And so with that, we will kick off at 1:00 on Sunday. No Thursday night football this week.
Why not?
And, because it was supposed to feature the Ravens.
See, okay. All right.
Yeah. So 1 p.m. on Sunday, the New Orleans Saints will travel to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. The Saints are 4th in the power rankings. Falcons are 20th. Vegas, that being Las Vegas, the gamblers there, they are favoring the Saints by 3 points. On the road.
Who's third? Who's third? Who's ahead of him in the power rankings?
Who's ahead of the Saints in the power rankings?
I know the two, but who's the third?
You have Green Bay.
Oh, God.
Green Bay, really?
Yeah.
How is Green Bay ahead of New Orleans in our power rankings?
Our top 4 in the power rankings: Kansas City, Pittsburgh, Green Bay, New Orleans, and 5th place is Seattle. But you'll hear all of that as we continue to move forward.
Our rankers have a screw loose.
On the road, New Orleans is 4-1 this season, and over a longer stretch is 17-3 over its last 20 road games. I believe that's something Doc told us at the very beginning of the season. In a trend that started last season, road teams are winning more often. Last year, road teams were 123, 132, and 1, the NFL's best single season mark since 1972, when they went 87, 90, and 5. There were 5 ties in 1972. Man, that's
real
terrible.
football.
This year, road teams are 86, 90, and 1. Actually, I'm sorry. They are 85, 91, and 1. Saints have allowed fewer than 10 points in 3 of their past 4 games. And when we're talking about this road to the playoffs and the Super Bowl, we're going to start talking more and more about defenses. Saints have the number 1 defense currently in the league. And that is why I am going to take the Saints. Doc, who is the Saints fan, is going to take the Falcons because he's hoping that the Saints win, right?
Well, there's a reverse psychology there, but this is the type of year, and it's been pretty typical of Sean Payton years. I mean, and then we had the injury midseason to Drew. Guaranteed, like Baltimore Pitt, doesn't matter who's playing, what strategies, what preparation. It's always a close game, usually. And so the Falcons stunned the Saints last year. I expect right now this to be a field goal game. I'm losing faith in my backup quarterback. I think Jameis would be better start, and we've got to start. We've got everybody back healthy. But the one thing that could change everything is I still don't believe they're real. The rotation of 9 defensive linemen for the Saints is making this team formidable on defense like the Steelers. That's they are rushing. Doesn't matter who gets it. Trey Hendrickson's from where, from who? I mean, the guy was tied for lead league in sacks, and yet we're getting pressure up the middle. Sheldon Rankin's back. We got a rotation like has never been seen in the history of defensive line play in the NFL, and I think it's changing the narrative of the Saints. And if everybody's healthy in the defense, it really doesn't matter what the offense is doing. But me and my Saints fans are still dying for a diagnosis on Drew. I don't know if he's got another week left or 2, but I just think that passing game has got to start.
Yeah,
get going to keep up with, because eventually you're not going to stop Atlanta and those weapons 2 weeks like they 2 consecutive weeks in a row.
So I've got to ask you, Doc. I mean, the big question is: last week you ran the ball 44 times, you threw the ball 16 times. That's not going to get you very far down the stretch and into the playoffs, is it? Well,
it doesn't really matter, because it's a different ways to skin a cat. They won ugly, but it's not a Drew Brees team. Well, obviously, with Taysom on the under center, it's not, because Drew. I think it's the best thing right now. He's going to be resting his arm, but look at the weapons. look at the weapons that are out there, and we're still a running team. Offensive line is still top 5 in the NFL. We won that game and rushed our ass off last week without top 3 tackle in the NFL, Teron Armstead. So I think that overall they're staying healthy and they can run the ball.
But I would point to this week. Obviously, you're playing the Falcons, who've got they're a team that can put points on the board for sure with their game. What if you go down in one of these games 10, 14 points early? I mean, you're not playing Kendall Hinton this week.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see that. I just wonder if it comes to the time when you've got to start throwing the ball to get back into a game and get some quick yards, some quick points. Is Hill shown he can do that?
Is he capable? I don't know, buddy.
I don't know.
I really don't. But hey, listen, Mike Thomas has got to get going. He's healthy again. You can't guard him. He's going to be 10 for 100, 9 for 100 every single week. Get Emmanuel Sanders involved. Our tight ends have basically disappeared out of this offense. Alvin Kamara is not himself because he's not used the way he is when Drew is the QB1. So
I mean,
Mike Thomas now doesn't matter.
Mike Thomas is going to take out a leaf out of Singletary's playbook, hasn't he, and go out and hit somebody in the mouth. Oh no, hold on, he's done that already.
He's already done that.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I just think that it doesn't matter what crap we spin here on a podcast. I just tell you, it's going to be a close game. And I just think this is the type of week historically the last 10 years that Atlanta and they're going to play and New Orleans are going to play a 3-point game. And I just think something's going to go wrong. I just don't like what I'm seeing from Taysom overall right now. And that's why I picked Atlanta.
So my friend who very smartly picked up the Saints defense in his fantasy league should probably not play the Saints defense. Is that what you're saying, Doc?
I don't know, dude. The true story, 2 weeks ago, I dropped Drew Brees from my fantasy team. Or no, the week before he got injured, I dropped him from my fantasy team for the first time in 11 years. And he got injured the next week. So I don't know if that's payback. But
so it's your fault he's got broken ribs.
Yeah, blame it on me. 11. Yeah. So.
Listen, Doc, it's not you who did it. It was your friend. You got to remember these things because nobody cares about your team, but maybe your friend's team, people might care about. MJ.
Speaking of friends, yeah, MJ's right up.
MJ's got a little bit of a write-up. I'm going to cut this quite a bit, but and start with this first thing that he has here. This game is, in my opinion, the best rivalry in the NFL. These two teams hate each other, and there's always a fight of some sort when they meet. The game is never friendly, and I like it that way. Good old-fashioned hate. A lot of hates. LOL. Some will get the reference. I actually don't get the reference. What's the reference?
Dave Chappelle show.
Oh,
there was a sketch there, called the Player Haters Ball.
Got it.
Look it up on YouTube.
This is not the best rivalry in the NFL.
No,
it's not even close. The best rivalry happened yesterday, and it was terrible. It was a terrible display of the best rivalry.
Terrible.
That's also rubbish.
Yeah.
The best rivalries are in the NFC East, always have been. But I've got to say, in terms of world sport, NFL rivalries are just like, I don't know, they're just terrible. So they are. Yeah. So the NFL is terrible for that. Absolutely
Nothing
terrible.
beats Red Sox Yankees. Nothing. Don't give me El Clasico. Don't give me any of that Premier League baloney.
No, I won't. I'll give you Celtic and Rangers in the Scottish.
We hate Nottingham Forest. We hate Liverpool too. We hate Man and United, but Everton, we love you. Go ahead, Neil.
Celtic and Rangers, the biggest rivalry in world sport.
How did we get here? What's the rest of MJ's write-up?
At the time of this writing, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, Todd Gurley, all limited during practice. Let's hope the next few days gives them time to get healthy and game ready, as they are definitely going to be needed in this game against the Saints. Also in the injury report were kicker Young Ku, defensive end Dante Fowler, and tight end Hayden Hurst. All were limited at practice. Defense has got to do better at getting pressure on Taysom Hill. Right now, we can all see that Hill likes to go to Michael Thomas. He has been very productive for the Saints. It's not just Hill. Drew Brees likes to go to Michael Thomas too. And
so did Teddy Bridgewater last year.
Everybody liked going to Michael Thomas, and nobody could stop him. The defense has got to do something and try to shut that down. He meant shut. He wrote a bad word instead, though. Limit his touches and definitely give up no big plays. Next is the running game anchored by Alvin Kamara. He's a beast. He's going to be the number one back in the run game. He's got to be stopped, or it's going to be a very long day for the Dirty Birds defense. He does project the Dirty Birds to win 27-24. So he's on pace with you there, Doc, with it's going to be a close game.
He's not the number one running back in this offense. Latavius Murray is. He's scorched.
Yeah.
He's scorched Denver, and Denver's got a formidable defense. They torched them. Yep.
Neil is going with the Saints, as am I, and James is going with the Falcons. James, what's the injury report?
Yeah, I'm starting with the Saints. Janoris Jenkins has a knee injury, didn't practice on Wednesday. Michael Thomas limited on Wednesday with the ankle. Alvin Kamara, foot injury, limited on Wednesday. And Marquez Callaway, minor sprain and could miss time. Also showing up, Andres Pete, Deontay Harris, and Ty Montgomery. For the Falcons, yes, Young Wei Koo, because basically he was kicking the crap out of the Vegas Raiders on Sunday, has a quad injury. So I guess his leg would be sore after all those kicks. Kendall Sheffield is suffering from an illness. It's not COVID related. He did not participate in Wednesday's practice.
That's not COVID. I don't understand.
Hey, it doesn't say COVID. It just says illness. If it was COVID, it'd say so. The tight end Hayden Hurst is nursing a knee injury. Calvin Ridley is listed on the injury report still. He was limited on Wednesday, foot and ankle. I do not sorry. There is Julio Jones and Todd Gurley. They are both listed as questionable and most likely will play.
All right. Next game, Sunday, Detroit Lions at the Chicago Bears. Lions 28th, the Bears 18th. Vegas has the Bears favored by 3. And we're all going with the Bears. Nope. Neil's going with the change at head coach usually leads to a win for the team. Neil?
Yeah, you've summed that up perfectly. Let's move on to the Bengals and Dolphins.
I mean, I kind of don't want to talk about this game either.
I mean, there's really not much to say. Mitch Trubisky will be starting. The Lions made a change at head coach, so maybe that makes a difference. But both these teams look like they're going the wrong way. I would say, is Matt Nagy in trouble? Do we think he's on his way out?
No.
Is he getting fired?
No,
Yep.
not yet.
Yep. Let me tell you about the Bears. It's like let's do a food reference here, okay? If you've got a chef cooking a menu and you replace that chef and cook the same menu and get the same result, take out my bank card, I'll give you my PIN number, go buy a Clue. Not working. Not with that personnel. He gone at the end of the season. New quarterback, new coach. That's my prediction.
And just sticking on that same game then with the coach changes and obviously the GM change as well in Detroit. Is it Stafford's last year in Detroit?
Yeah, he's not part of the problem, but he sure as hell ain't part of the solution in that
He's
town.
never been part of the solution. And I think that's the biggest issue there in Detroit, because for every time they try to give him weapons, you know, he plays well up until a certain point in the season, and then it's like we have a shot at making the playoffs, and he craps the bed for like the next 3 to 4 weeks in a row. Even our own superfan talks about how he will inevitably throw the soul-crushing interception in the most inopportune time to kill his team, and he hasn't. That's who he's been for his entire career. He's never been able to get away from that.
All right, so just to sum up then, James, is that yes or no for Stafford's last season in Detroit?
No. I think he sticks around. Unless they get a young head coach in there, like, you know, quote, one of these offensive geniuses, which I don't know who's left to bring in, because I don't see this as a job that, say, Eric Bieniemy takes.
This is Bob Saleh's job, which we talked about on the Tuesday show. If you missed it, go check out your podcast.
49ers DC? Yeah, if they get a defensive head coach, if they get a former DC as the new head coach, then yes, Stafford stays. If they go with a former OC as the new head coach, then Stafford's gone.
The question is going to be who's available. If it's not Matthew Stafford, then who is going to be the next quarterback? They're not in line to draft one of the youngsters.
No, they're not. But, I mean, you could always find a diamond in the rough in the draft. Look, Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes went 10-12 in their draft, and the Bears screwed up by taking what's his face again?
Trubisky.
Yeah, that guy.
All right. So they're not going to make the same mistake that their division rival made. Neil, who are the quarterbacks that we're looking at in this draft? Because you're the draft expert.
Yeah, well, obviously, I mean, Lawrence and Fields will probably go 1 and 2. Then you're looking at 3 and 4 being Trey Lance from North Dakota, and of course you've got Zach Wilson, who seems to be rocking up skyboards. He's BYU, isn't he, Wilson? And then you've got, then you go into maybe the second round. You've got Mac Jones at Alabama. You've got the Florida lad. What's he called? Kyle Trask.
He's doing well.
So you're kind of probably into rounds 2 and 3 there. But Wilson is a guy who's shooting up draft boards. So if you're looking past the first two, you're looking at Lance and Wilson at the moment.
Neil, I have to counter there briefly. Alabama quarterbacks in the NFL, not a good mix.
Either Ohio State too. Forget Fields. Forget them. If you're going to pick a wideout, just go to Ohio State. Look at Debo. Look at Michael. Everybody turns out. But tell me the difference between the current Ohio State quarterback and the one sitting on the bench in Washington. Nothing. Nothing.
Yeah. Oh, that hurts.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some merit in what Doc's saying there for sure. The problem when you've got Alabama and obviously Ohio State, it's very difficult to judge because they're playing with elite players. I mean, Mac Jones, look at who he's throwing to, Waddle and Smith and all these guys. I mean, I could probably get a couple of 100 yards in a game playing quarterback for Alabama.
I mean, that said, Joe Burrow was throwing to elite players too, and he turned out quite all right.
Well, he also made those players. You can see that was a special season, different circumstances, I would say.
All right. Well, my point is, if it's not Matthew Stafford, I don't think the replacement for Matthew Stafford is going to be waiting for the Lions in the draft. And I don't think you're going to find somebody in free agency that's going to be better than Matthew Stafford, unless you're willing to trade. I'll trade you my washed up quarterback for your washed up. I'll take Matthew Stafford. You take my Cam Newton, and we'll call it even.
Might happen.
Sam Darnold might be available.
Yeah,
he might.
Well, I know you're a believer. Well, here's the other thing. Well,
Carson
maybe
Wentz?
because actually, I don't believe we talked about this particular coaching candidate on the podcast, James, but James and I did a real deep dive on potential coaching candidates after our Tuesday podcast was done. That whole BYU staff could end up becoming coaches for Detroit. And if that's the case, then maybe they go with the quarterback too and the coaching staff. They come as a package deal.
Kyle Trask and Zach Wilson are going to run up the boards. There's going to be 8 or 9 quarterbacks taken in the first 2 rounds. They say it's going to be quarterback rich. Everybody's stock is rising, so it'll be interesting.
I mean, currently they've got the 9th pick in the first round, Detroit. So they're struggling if they want one of the top guys. But you never know; they could trade up, trade down, trade Stafford, get a pick for him, and use that as collateral. You might. How about Stafford goes to Philadelphia and Carson Wentz goes to Indianapolis?
Can't with his contract.
Absolutely not.
You're stuck with your QB, bro, in Philly.
Oh, I know I'm stuck with my QB, but
Yeah.
I damn sure don't want Stafford.
Yeah.
What's the injury report? And we can move on from this one.
Yeah, big name on the injury report for the Bears. Khalil Mack, back injury. He didn't practice on Wednesday. Akeem Hicks, who missed the Bears game Sunday against the Packers, he is questionable this week as well. For the Detroit Lions, it's a laundry list. Big names, Danny Amendola, Kenny Galladay, DeAndre Swift, all listed as questionable, along with Austin Bryant and Hunter Bryant, who's in a concussion protocol.
All right. The Bengals and the Dolphins, as Neil alluded to a little while ago.
About an hour ago.
Next game on the list. Bengals are 30th in the power rankings. The Dolphins are 12th. Vegas has them favored by 11.5 points. Miami does rank 5th in the NFL with a +6 turnover ratio. Xavier Howard leads the NFL with 7 interceptions. Defensive end Emmanuel Ogbah is tied for 7 with 8 sacks. I don't care how good that Dolphins defense is. I don't care if it's Tua or Fitzpatrick playing at quarterback. I am not giving any team against the Miami Dolphins 11.5 points. I'll take the Dolphins to win because who's playing quarterback for the Bengals? Does it matter? But they're not winning by 11.5 points. James, you are locking this in. I'm guessing you will give the Bengals 11.5 points.
Pathetic.
Yeah, I don't care about the point spread. Yeah, I'm locking it in because I don't care who's playing quarterback for Miami. And briefly, Brian Flores has hinted that Tua's thumb status for this week is, going to be a game time decision. So he hasn't officially made a decision on who's playing between Tua and Ryan, but it really doesn't matter. He could probably step in and play quarterback and beat the Bengals at this point. Other names on the injury report: Malcolm Perry, the running back, chest injury; DeAndre Washington, another running back, hamstring injury. And for the Bengals, the guard Alex Redmond is still in concussion protocol. Defensive tackle Christian Covington, cornerback Tony Brown, and wide receiver Mike Thomas are also listed as questionable. We can move on. This game doesn't warrant much discussion. It really doesn't. It's the Bengals.
I'd just like to thank Neil for giving me a sound effect that I can use not only for the tease, but perhaps in perpetuity, whatever, for a long time.
Perpetuity?
Yeah, thank you. On this
You're
show.
welcome.
It was more about James locking this up. I mean, for goodness sake, James, grow up here,
What?
for God's sake.
Hey, there are 5 locks this week. What do you want from me?
Oh, 5 locks, not
5
one.
locks.
5.
I'd like you to lock somebody up who is not like absolutely without a shadow of a doubt going to win the game.
Oh,
Are we overusing the word lock?
We might be.
I mean, here's a lock. I'll be overweight tomorrow. That's a lock. That's a lock.
But I would like James to lock up, like in a close game, like the Colts and the Texans, or who else is close this week? Rams and Cardinals. Come on, lock one of those games up. You're sitting there.
I did that 2 weeks ago for you.
You're sitting there in Atlanta eating your chipmunk on a stick. Watching your game
Back
on
to the
Sunday.
Chipmunks again? I mean, come on.
Next game.
I forgot to put my lock in. I got to go find it. You're going to be disappointed in my lock, though, Neil. The Cleveland Browns are at the Tennessee Titans. This is a battle between 2 top 10 teams. The Browns are 10th in our power rankings. The Titans are 6th. And Vegas has the Titans favored by 5.5 points. Let's see here. Oh, I have a lot of stats on this one. The contest will feature 3 of the NFL's 9 leading rushers, including Nick Chubb, whose 719 rushing yards has him tied for 6th. Kareem Hunt, 706 is 9th. Derrick Henry, by the way, obviously way up there. The Cleveland duo is on pace to become the first pair of Browns players to each top 1,000 rushing yards in the same season since Ernest Biner and Kevin Mack in 1985.
There you go. Yeah, that's great.
See, I knew you would love that piece of
team
history,
on Tecmo
Neil.
Bowl. Great Tecmo Bowl duo to play with.
It's funny. I know when I pull out one of these historical stats, Neil is going to yawn, or he's just going to be like, "Oh yeah, that's a good one."
I like that one a lot. They were great, and then they had who did they have? Was Eric Metcalf after those 2 guys or before those 2 guys?
I believe it was after.
Yeah, after.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Bernie Kosar, all those guys, fantastic.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry, who paced the NFL with 1,540 rushing yards in 2019, seeks to become the first player to lead the league in rushing yards in consecutive seasons since Pro Football Hall of Famer LaDainian Tomlinson in 2006-2007. LaDainian Tomlinson in the argument as best running back ever. Last week, Derrick Henry rushed for 178 yards and 3 touchdowns. Henry is the 4th player in NFL history with 3 games of at least 175 rushing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns in his first 5 seasons. He joins Pro Football Hall of Famers Jim Brown, Adrian Peterson, perhaps will be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but also LaDainian Tomlinson. Mm-hmm. Titans have the fewest giveaways this season with 5. We're all going with the Tennessee Titans in this one.
Yeah, and before Neil chimes in, I'm gonna make him happy here, and I'm gonna lock in the Titans there.
Okay. But Neil already locked the Titans.
He did. Neil already locked.
I'm locking the Titans.
I'll be white tomorrow.
So, in terms of ranking those AFC teams, then who do you have? Chiefs, Titans, Steelers. How would you put those 3 together? They're the 3 top teams, aren't they? The Bills maybe 4th.
Well, I mean, in my power rankings, I had the Steelers, Chiefs, and I think the Titans 3rd. as I rank them. But to be honest, the way that the Steelers played yesterday, I'd probably put the Chiefs above the Steelers.
And that's an anomaly, but whatever.
But yeah, I would actually, I do have the Titans as the third AFC team there. With Buffalo right behind them, though.
Yeah,
Buffalo's not far off.
No, close. Yeah.
I mean, none of us are picking Cleveland, but I mean, Cleveland has been playing better as of late.
Here's a stat. Here's the last stat, Pod. Cleveland is now ranked officially by Football Outsiders, all statistically, as the worst 8-3 team ever.
You see, Jay, that's how you do a stat.
Okay.
Yeah. This is a learning opportunity for you.
Did you not just wait a second? I would like to point out, Neil, that at the beginning of this show, you also railed that people have been talking about the Steelers being the worst 11-0 team in history, and now Doc pulls one out that says that they're the worst 8-3 team in history. First of all, how did Doc? Not to listen.
Sure.
That's a wonderful. I'm glad you brought the talking point up. But how in the world did somebody decide? Oh, you know what? Of all the 8-3 teams, this is definitely the worst one. How'd they even figure that out?
Well, they started with the number of Twitter followers they have, and the Browns not got a whole lot, so that's a bad one. But Doc, keep bringing those great stats. I love it.
DVOA. All right, so based on advanced metrics, that they're worse than the 2010 Chicago Bears, 2019 Buffalo Bills, 1997 Minnesota Vikings, and the 2003 St. Louis Rams. Their rank in DVOA is 22 in overall. So you're going into deep statistics here, but I don't know. That's the qualification. So,
you want a higher number or a lower number? Are you looking to be 0 or are you looking to be 100?
Oh, gosh.
Is it like golf or is it like everything else? Score the most points.
The Browns didn't inspire anybody after struggling with the Jaguars last week. So, I mean,
I guess the
good thing is Myles Garrett is not on the injury report this week.
Yeah, that's good for them. Different team.
He may play this week after coming off COVID, but we don't know. Like I said, he's not listed on the injury report, so that's a big deal to them. Kareem Hunt is listed with a thigh injury.
The question, though, James, isn't it? I mean, okay, they're 8-3, the Browns, and that's great, and I'm happy for the fans.
Yeah.
They've got a winning team, but the question still is Mayfield. He's looked terrible. Did you see the wide open touchdown he missed last week?
Oh, you mean the one he missed against Jacksonville, or the one he missed against Philadelphia, or the one he missed against Houston, or the one he missed? I mean, there's so many because he misses a wide open touchdown. And here's the shocking part: to his tight end, who is 6'6", every single week.
Yep.
That dude is wide open. Nobody around him within 5 yards. And somehow he either sells it left or right or completely airmails it over his head. And it's like, there's no pressure on you. You're clear of all the line of scrimmage stuff that's going on between the offensive and defensive lines. This should be an easy lollipop throw to your tight end.
Be careful, James. Be careful. You're bordering on the term catch radius, and that's when you get muted.
Well, I don't care about a catch radius, but I mean, how hard is it to hit a guy who's 6'6" when neither one of you has anybody within 5 yards of you? It's basically playing catch in your backyard.
Well, if Neil loved
to do it.
If Neil loved all the historical stats, he's going to love Jordan's right up here on the Titans. If you miss football in the 90s and want to see power rushing attacks, then this is the game for you. It's no secret that both teams want to run the ball a ton. I expect both teams to have success, too. It looks like Denzel Ward will be out for Cleveland. Is that true, James?
He is listed as questionable. I don't see what his injury is.
It allows for a possible A.J. Brown explosion game. Meanwhile, the Titans have had too many injuries to keep track of all season. You hear a lot about teams ravaged by injury, but not many of them are first in their division. Between Vrabel's coaching and our apparently outstanding depth, cornerback Breon Borders started the year on the practice squad and is now a reliable starter for us. We've been getting the job done no matter who's in there. And ultimately, pardon the pun, but it's officially D. Henber. This is our that is terrible.
Wow, that's terrible.
Never mind, pardon the what pun? That was just a terrible mishmash of letters.
That was bad. Don't do that again.
this is our time of year because this is Henry's time of year. Our remaining schedule is Cleveland, Jacksonville, Detroit, Green Bay, Houston, all bad run defenses. Derek is about to eat. I also think the Browns are one of the worst 8-3 teams in recent memory. Well, Doc just told us they are the worst ever. So there you go.
Hey, I got to tell you something about that offensive line. They already lost the tackle, but they're in their third, I think it's right tackle. Mm-hmm. And they're still playing top 3-4 offensive line in the league. That's huge coaching. Yeah. And you got to run the ball in December. And by the way, Cleveland.com says Ward is out.
Yeah.
So
okay. James,
he was mostly unlikely to miss even more than 1 week with his shoulder, potentially. So, anyways,
James, what we've learned from this preview is that I think from next week, I think Doc must be in charge of stats. Do you think?
Anyway, or in charge of the injury report.
Injury report.
Perfect. Other names to keep an eye on the injury report for the Cleveland Browns: safety Sheldrick Redwine, center J.C. Treader, tackle Jack Conklin, and defensive tackles Vincent Taylor and Jordan Elliott. So a lot of injuries up and down Cleveland's offensive and defensive lines.
I will just finish that Jordan predicts a Titans victory 34-21.
Titans.
My concern for James, my concern from the Titans would be, they don't want to run Henry into the ground, do they, before the playoffs?
That's what they did last year.
I don't know that they can run him into the ground. Dude's a machine. Yeah, a machine. He's scary.
Great player.
But Titans injuries include Roger Saffold, their guard, Dennis Kelly, their tackle. Let's see here, Adam Humphries and Jonnu Smith. Jonnu's injury is undisclosed, but he missed practice yesterday. So,
yeah, you want to know what it is? It's called lack of football playing gene. That's what his injury is. Jonnu Smith. My friend's fantasy team is very upset with Jonnu Smith.
Oh, really? Your friend? Okay.
Yes. Indianapolis Colts are at the Houston Texans. The Colts are 9th in the power rankings. The Texans 21st. Vegas says the Colts will win by 3.5 points. We are all taking the Colts except for you, James.
Lock it up, James. Lock it up.
I am, Neil. Just for you. Lock it in the Texans. Just for you, Neil. Lock in the Texans. Just lock them in.
Living on the edge, huh?
Might as well. Look, look. This is a division game, and we already know how I feel about Phillip Rivers, and that's pretty much all I got.
Yeah,
this is the time of year where he chokes stuff away.
But I mean, the Texans beat the Patriots, and they beat who else did they beat? Who'd they just beat last week? I'm missing. Oh, Detroit.
Yeah, but
Detroit, of course, on Thanksgiving.
Now they're playing a decent
Thanksgiving Day. There you go.
Yeah, but what's this team look like without Will Fuller now?
Exactly.
Right. I mean, now you're down. And again, those other guys are in and out of the lineup. So I don't know.
Didn't somebody else get suspended as well? This is the Brian Cushing method of training. Yeah.
There's a name.
Take these tablets and give me your forearm.
Well, let's put it this way. Watson wants Fuller re-signed in the offseason, so there's that. It's not like they can keep a full stable of wide receivers healthy to begin with because, as we always point out, one of them is always hurt.
But, James, doesn't this say everything about the Bill O'Brien era, that they put their strength and conditioning guy as a guy who had multiple suspensions for PEDs in the league?
Absolutely. But
I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous.
Old habits are hard to break.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, at least there was an explanation as to why Will Fuller didn't get hurt this year. That's what I was.
That's right. That's right. He's playing like Superman for a reason. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I trust Deshaun Watson more than I trust Phillip Rivers. I don't like the way the Colts game last week against the Titans should have been a close game, and it was back and forth until 14-14, and then somewhere around there, the Colts is pretty much like, we're at home, we got this, we can coast, and the Texans are like, we're going to put our foot so far up your butt, the water on our knee will quench your thirst. And It didn't stop. I mean, that was like after 14-14, that was like one of the worst beatings I've seen in football, just from a pure running standpoint. You'd have to go back to like 85 Bears running on people with Walter Payton and just manhandling opponents. They had no answer for Henry last week. And even the handful of times that Tannehill was able to throw the ball, their secondary couldn't keep up with the wide receivers. So I don't care who's available for Houston playing wide receiver. I now don't trust the secondary.
Well, I would trust the Colts secondary. The Colts defense has been solid. And I mean, they're not number one anymore, but they were at one point. And you have lost your number one wide receiver in Will Fuller. You're left with Brandon Cooks. You cut Kenny Stills. So now you have Kiki Kuti, who's just as injury prone as Will Fuller. He's got no one to pass to. Deshaun Watson is toast. He's toast this year.
But he can still run. So, I mean, there's that element.
And then he'll get chased down by Darius Leonard. So, yeah, sure.
Nope. Leonard's not fast enough to catch Watson.
The secret sauce in that Indy defense is DeForest Buckner.
Is he playing this week? Because he didn't play last week, and that was the major difference.
He is not on the injury report this week. He should be available.
Well,
and Phillip Rivers is listed on the injury report with a toe injury. He didn't practice on Wednesday. Wide receiver Zach Pascal has a knee injury. He was limited. Their punter, Rigoberto Sanchez, he is out because he had a cancerous tumor removed. Offensive tackle Anthony Costanzo is questionable with a knee injury. He suffered an MCL sprain last week. On the Texans side, no wide receivers are on the injury report. So congratulations, Houston. They're healthy-ish. But CJ Prosise didn't participate in practice due to an illness.
So despite the illness listing, and trust me, all the best to the Indianapolis Colts punter. And hopefully, God willing, everything will turn out okay. But is there not a better listing on the injury report than cancerous tumor removed?
Not this week.
I guess that landed flat. Las Vegas Raiders, gentlemen and ladies.
Yeah, I've got to say, cancer jokes, not often the best. They don't grow on people, do they, really?
Well done, Neil. Las Vegas Raiders are at the New York Jets. Raiders 15th in the power rankings. The Jets remain at 32. Raiders favored by 8. Neil did not learn by Doc's mistake last week. Doc calling for the upset, the Jets to get their first victory of the year. Nope. Didn't happen. Neil now calling for the upset. Neil thinks that the Raiders, who are mad at the performance that they put out there against the Falcons, are going to do the same against the Jets.
I still can't see the Jets going to 0-16. I asked myself, what would Angela Abar say, James? And I thought she would say, yeah, the Jets can do this.
No, she wouldn't.
The Jets are,
and there's no hope for the Jets to win a game this season.
Did you see the Raiders last week? Have you seen the
Jets all season, Neil?
Wait, time out, Pod. Neil, no, I didn't see the Raiders last week because I heard reports that they were visiting the gentleman establishments here in Atlanta, which is why they didn't play well.
With masks?
Who knows? They probably get fined again this week for something they did 2 months ago.
That's all about wearing.
Apparently there's good food at some of those strip joints.
Yeah. But yeah,
well, they've all been shut down in New York, so you don't have to worry about that happening in New York.
Look, after the Raiders, they got the Seahawks, the Rams, the Browns, and then the Patriots. I'm sorry. I don't see them winning any of these 5 games except maybe the Patriots, and that's only because of how they're playing now.
Ugh. Gosh, do we have to bring this up every – This is going to be my life for the next 5 weeks is the Patriots are going to lose against the Jets in Week 17.
You'll be the one, and they're 1-15. Hey, look, don't feel bad about it. Don't feel bad. Washington is still the 1, and Dallas is 1-15 season.
Oh.
Last year, Raiders traveled east. They were 6-4 against the Jets, lost 34-3. Come east this year, 6-4. 2020 versus Atlanta, lose 43-6. I don't know what Raiders team this is, but I'm not making the same mistake. 2 weeks in a row on a hunch. I think Gruden has got the right attitude. He's not taking the Jets lightly. So
You mean like they took the Falcons lightly?
Yeah, really. Yeah. He doesn't want to hear about it. They're 0 whatever. Hey, by the way, interject with this. Greater chance of an undefeated season for the Steelers or a winless season for the Jets?
Steelers.
Jets.
Jets.
Yeah, I think Jets too.
The Steelers still have 3 games. People keep asking, what game are they going to lose? There's 3 games that are going to be
Buffalo.
tough for the Steelers.
The Buffalo game will be tough.
Yep.
This week.
Not
Right,
this week.
yes,
Neil.
this
No.
week too. Right.
Keep losing pieces off that defense. You know, who knows what it's going to look like.
James, what are some of the major injuries for the Raiders? Because clearly no one, not even their moms, care about the Jets anymore.
Sure, because I don't even know what a Jets player looks like these days. Josh Jacobs has an ankle injury. He didn't practice on Wednesday. Some guy named Nelson Aguilar has an ankle injury. He didn't practice. That name looks somewhat familiar. Jonathan Abram has a knee injury, didn't practice on Wednesday. And cornerback Damon Arnett is in concussion protocol.
All right, there you go. The final 1:00 game, the Jacksonville Jaguars are at the Minnesota Vikings. The Jaguars 31st, the Vikings 17. Vegas favors the Vikings by 10. Jacksonville averages 13.5 yards per punt return, which is second in the NFL. Minnesota's punt coverage is 25th in the league, allowing 11 yards per punt return. I say that just to give the Jaguars something, because Gardner Minshew is apparently healthy, and Doug Marrone says he ain't playing, and that's what tanking looks like, ladies and gentlemen. They're hoping that the Jets can pull off a victory somewhere.
Mike Glennon to save the day.
Oh, my gosh. Well, I mean, they did this to themselves.
Play all your Vikings if they're available. So it's the injury report on the Vikings.
Yeah, let's start there. Dalvin Cook tweaked his ankle during the game against the Panthers. He's feeling good, but, I keep an eye on that throughout the week. They'll probably rest him. Irv Smith, the tight end, and Ezra Cleveland, the tackle, are listed as questionable, along with Brett Jones, the center. For the Jaguars, if anybody cares, Chris Conley and DJ Chark, their wide receivers, are listed as questionable. And Brandon Watson and Gerard Wilson, their defensive backs, are also listed as questionable. They put Devon Hamilton, the defensive tackle, in injured reserve with a knee injury.
By the way, I failed to mention that not my friend, me, lost a lot of money thanks to the Las Vegas Raiders stinker last week. So
that sucks.
Minnesota Vikings, hello? Yes, don't put a stinker out there this week.
Do you think? Do you think Doug Marrone's in trouble? We're talking about hot guys in the hot seat earlier. Is Marrone a guy who's going to be gone at the end of the year?
The GM fired last week. Yes,
GM's gone. Yeah,
Be up to the new GM.
Yeah, Doug Marrone's just a placeholder. I think James and I discussed this on the Tuesday podcast. Basically, why pay him to just sit it out for the last 5 weeks when you can have him stay and keep Mike Glennon in at quarterback?
So this is what not getting good looks like.
Exactly. All right. Before we jump to the 4:00 games, Doc, what is our recipe this week?
Well, seeing that we had a stretchy sweatpants type of week, let's go to something relatively healthy. Who was it, Pod? You don't like avocados?
I don't like avocados, but I also don't know what a vegetable is. This thing called vegetables.
Oh, God, Jay.
All right. Well, I don't know if I ever told you the story about how I started to love avocados, but I'll get to that in another episode. But this is
Is it going to be clean, Doc? I mean, this is a family show.
Relatively clean. Clean. There's O.J. Simpson's in the story, and
oh God,
a Southern chef and a lineup at a restaurant, and me sweating off 10 pounds in 113-degree heat in San Antonio.
Anyway, while you were smeared in avocado.
A priest and a rabbi walked into a bar.
Yeah.
No.
A woman in fishnet stockings and a fur coat walks in with a pound of salami under one arm and a cat under the other.
Oh, Lord.
Chipotle pepper, bacon, guac. We're going to give you another guac recipe because this is good stuff, man. It's relatively healthy. Avocados mashed with shallots. You don't grill this stuff like my grilled guac with fresh garlic, cilantro, lime. You put in some applewood smoked bacon and a couple of chipotle peppers and adobo, and you got yourself a beautiful, healthy dip. I still love to grill pita bread, grill it on the grill or crisp it up in the oven and use those versus nacho chips. You get more dip on a sliced pita. But and add some cumin. It's a fantastic guac. So there you go, and we'll have it up for you. Chipotle, pepper, bacon, guac.
And next week, Doc, you're going to have to bring some vegetable stuff because Jay clearly. I mean, this is a hopeless case.
I'm making carrot soup today, so
not until January 1st do I need to worry about these vegetables that people speak of. All right, until January 1st, I need to fatten up to then lose the weight.
How about cauliflower steak? I love cauliflower steak, char grilled.
Buffalo.
We're putting that on the same stick as the.
Chipmunk. I know what we can do. We can do deep fried buffalo battered cauliflower. It's still a vegetable.
No, that's good.
Listen, now you're talking. Just like clearly the healthiest part of your guac dish was the bacon, right?
Yeah.
That was where the healthy came in.
True that.
So we begin with our 4:00 games. The Los Angeles Rams are at the Arizona Cardinals. Rams 8th in the power rankings. The Cardinals 13th. Vegas favors Los Angeles by 3 points in this one. Defensive lineman Aaron Donald has recaptured the NFL lead with 10 sacks, having reached double figures in sacks for a 4th consecutive season. In his past 4 games at Arizona, Donald has 8 combined sacks. He also aims for his 5th in a row at State Farm Stadium with 1.5 or more sacks. Also, the Rams are 6-0 versus the Cardinals under Sean McVay. We are all taking the Rams. No, we're not, James. Come on, James.
Look, so let me say this.
They lost to the Patriots. The Cardinals lost to the Patriots.
Yes. And I blame Cliff Kingsbury for 2 losses this year against AFC East teams he should not have lost to. First being the Dolphins, and then this past week against the Patriots. In both games, he had 4th and 1 situations to pretty much put the team up, let the defense ride it out. He did not go for it on 4th and 1. When you have a dynamic quarterback like Kyler Murray back there, just let him just call a pass play, and if there's nothing open, let him do the Michael Vick one read and go. Now, granted, I do understand the Patriots played a mush rush type thing where they basically sent, air quotes, sent 5, but not really because they weren't trying to sack them. They didn't want to create lanes to let them run through. And they played that perfectly. You got to take a chance in crunch time and be like, somebody's going to make a mistake, and take a chance that you believe in your guy and, don't trust that they can hold up at this crucial point. And go for it on 4th and 1. Stop kicking field goals with 2 minutes left on the clock and giving your defense a short field to pretty much let the opposing offense burn out 1:59 and kick a field goal with no time expiring after only moving the ball 30 freaking yards. Like, seriously, do something different, because it didn't work against Miami. It didn't work against the Patriots. Please don't let that be the situation this week against the Rams, who, oh, by the way, did the same dumb thing against the 49ers last week.
So Kyler Murray also clearly is not himself, despite them saying that he's fine.
That shoulder injury he took against the Seahawks is, that's more telling than what they're letting on.
Yep.
Yeah. So, until I can see a healthy Kyler Murray, I'm not going to take the Cardinals. But honestly, Aaron Donald is just going to run roughshod through that offensive line.
Last year, 65-31 scores. They've torched them. So it's not been a contest for like 4 years. So until they do it, have no faith. Somebody just owns you, they own you. Drop the mic. Yeah.
By the way, my friend says Cooper Kupp should make a good comeback in this game too. So
I didn't know he was missing.
Really? Yeah. Well, he was missing last week. Fortunately for my friend, he didn't need him, but this week be nice. What's the injury report look like, James?
Sebastian Joseph Day, Brian Allen, Terrell Lewis for the Rams show up on the injury report. All listed as questionable. Expect them all to play. For the Cardinals, Kyler Murray, right shoulder, limited in practice on Wednesday, so keep an eye on that. Safety, Jalen Thomas, tight end, Dan Arnold, were limited in practice. Jonathan Joseph, the cornerback, Zach Allen, the defensive end, and Tanner Vallejo, the linebacker, also show up as questionable.
All right. The New York Giants are at the Seattle Seahawks. Giants 25th. Seahawks, as we mentioned earlier, are 5th. Vegas favors the Seahawks by 10. And I don't know if 10 is enough. I mean, despite the fact that the Seahawks are a terrible defense, I mean, we're looking at Colt McCoy at quarterback for a team that's just, I mean, this is the Giants were lucky. I may have mentioned this when we were looking at the remaining schedules for the NFC East. I knew that the Giants and the winner of the Cowboys football team, those two teams are going to have the advantage going into these final few weeks of the season.
Oh,
so the
but hold
Giants
on.
were lucky.
Hold on, Jay. Double figure point favorite in this game, so I'm assuming James is locked up.
Yes, he has.
And the Giants, one, are not lucky because their remaining games after Seattle are Cardinals, Browns, Ravens, and Dallas.
Right. But they already got that extra win on everybody. That's what I'm saying. Everybody else is going to lose too. It's all coming down to those last 2 weeks of the season in the NFC East.
Looks like 6 and 10 is going to clinch it, isn't it?
So yeah, so the Giants already got that
maybe.
extra. The Giants already got their extra win. Now they just need everybody else to come through for them. But yeah, there's no way anyone's taking anybody but the Seahawks in this game. And honestly, I will give the Giants 10 points, and I'll feel comfortable about it.
Wait. 10 points in the spread or 10 points to score total for the game?
That's an excellent question, James, because I think both could be true.
Right. I mean, this game could end up 10-0, and you're right on both counts.
How long is Jones going to be out for? Do we know?
We don't know. He's definitely expected not to play this week with that hamstring injury. They did say a couple of weeks, so if you're looking at 2, that's next week as well. We don't know any more than that, but definitely not playing this week. Also on the Giants injury report, wide receivers Darius Slayton with a shoulder and foot, and Sterling Shepard with a toe and shoulder.
By the way, as we make fun of James locks, Neil, I finally looked up who my lock of the week is, and it is in fact the Raiders. We're playing the Jets. So, sorry.
No, yeah, way to come through, Jay.
Yeah. Yep. Taking the easy way out. Are we good with this game? Do we have anything more to add to this one?
No, let's move on.
Play all your Seahawks.
Running
God, worst defense, worst passing defense in the league versus Colt McCoy. Pick one. Kiss your sister or what?
I don't know, Doc, because worst passing defense in the league against Carson Wentz, and he missed on his first 6 passes. And 2 of them were wide open.
Well, let's talk about Carson Wentz, James, since you bring him up, because it's the Philadelphia Eagles at the Green Bay Packers.
Wait. Before we get to that debacle, the Seahawks running backs, Carlos Hyde, Chris Carson, both on the injury report, toe and foot, respectively. Offensive linemen across the board for the Seahawks are also showing up in the injury report. Jordan Simmons, the guard, Damian Lewis, the guard, Kyle Fuller, the center, and Brandon Snell, the tackle. So be careful there with the Seahawks.
Alex Collins, if you need a running back, but don't worry about that. You're going to play wide receivers and Russell Wilson. You'll be fine. All right. Eagles, Packers. Eagles 29th in the power rankings. Packers move up to 3rd. Vegas only gave the Packers 9 points. I'm surprised they didn't give them at least 10 like the Seahawks to the Giants. Only 9.
I'll tell you why.
Only 9 to the Eagles.
I'll tell you why.
We're all taking the Packers, but go ahead. Tell us why, James. You locked the Packers. Vegas got word that you were going to lock the Packers, so they decided to take a point away.
Yeah.
Who knows? But yeah, so everyone knows the Packers are horrible against the run. The Eagles have a running back who's averaging over 5 yards a carry, and yet for whatever reason over the last couple of weeks, they've not been running the ball. Apparently, Vegas believes the Eagles are going to run the ball this week, though I don't know why, because it's evident last week the first 6 pass plays against the Seahawks didn't do much of anything, and they didn't even try to run the ball with Miles Sanders. 6 carries for 15 yards. That's not getting the job done. And I'm sorry, Carson Wentz is done this season. It's over. Just treat him the way the Browns are treating Baker Mayfield. Run the ball, play action.
So
pray that works.
So I'm going to read this stat, and then I'm going to ask you what's wrong with Carson Wentz, because only the Eagles, 29.4%, and Jets, 25.6%, score on less than 30% of their possessions in the league.
Mm-hmm. You know what
is wrong?
Teams have in common?
What?
Neither team has scored 30 points this year.
So what's wrong with Carson Wentz?
Well, he's going for the Triple Crown trifecta. He's leading the league in interceptions, sacks, and turnovers. So he's well on pace to win that Triple Crown. I'm rooting for you, Carson. I know you can do it. Keep holding the ball for no reason whatsoever when receivers are open downfield or within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. You're doing a bang-up job there, guy.
All right.
But it's coaching. It's ineptitude in the offensive coaching staff. And look, we talk about it in the Slack channel. After the Eagles won the Super Bowl, that offensive coaching staff was decimated. Reich gets the head coaching job in Indianapolis. The quarterback coach becomes the OC in Minnesota and then Jacksonville, and I think now he's out of the league. So there's no one there to either question or counter whatever the hell is going through the mind of Doug Peterson. And for some reason, he believes that he has the quarterback and the personnel to throw the ball on every freaking down. This is what got Andy Reid fired ultimately. And yet Andy Reid runs the ball more in Kansas City than he's ever run it in Philadelphia. Even with running backs like, I don't know, Deuce Staley, Brian Westbrook, LaShawn McCoy. And here we have the stud running back in Miles Sanders, and he's not being used. He's a running back. Turn around, hand him the ball, have the big uglies up front, block. The offensive line, yes, it's a mess. But you know how you help a messy offensive line? Run the football. You don't drop back and pass 50 times a game.
So Neil asked last week when we were going to see Jalen Hurts, and we saw him, but not for very long.
Yeah, one play, one pass, 6 yards to a wide receiver who should not be playing this season because he's taken away reps and opportunities for other wide receivers to get better. Alshon Jeffrey is the reason Travis Fulgham has disappeared from this offense, period, point blank. Ever since he's come back and been eligible to practice and play, they force him into the lineup, and whenever he's on the field, Carson Wentz is forcing him the football. Doesn't matter if he's open or not. He's just throwing him the ball because he's out there, and they're horrible passes.
James, I will give you a parallel here. When a chef de cuisine loses all his sous chefs, his saucier, whatever kind of sous chef it is, loses that entire team, he's not as good a chef, period. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know. I don't call your head coach incompetent. He's just at the lowest of the low right now. He is horrible right now. Hasn't been horrible in the past. The only thing we could point to is he's got no understaff that had a greater effect on the game when they were winning Super Bowls. So
look. It's the same staff that we had last year, and down the stretch we had to win 4 games in a row to win a division, and they won those 4 games. Granted, it was ugly, but the offense at least looked competent. And this year they just look completely lost. It's like they've never practiced or played football together at all. And we had the top 3 wide receivers missing, 3 of our usual starters on the offensive line missing, had to rely on Miles Sanders because Jordan Howard got hurt, and it all worked last year. And for whatever reason, you have that same personnel from those last 4 games last year. You still have an offensive line that you're rotating and trying to find a combination. And the one thing they committed to last year doing down the stretch, they're not doing now. What is he waiting for, the last 4 games to run the football again? That's something that he should have been doing earlier in the season. We'd have, I don't know, another 1 or 2 victories at this point and be basically have a lock on this division by now. Yeah, it'd still be ugly. Everybody would still be under 500. But at least we'd be a game and a half up on whoever's in first place right now.
What percentage of this inept offense can be dedicated towards an offensive line that is banged up and got more rotation
5%.
than okay.
5%. I can't go higher than 5% because they proved they can. That's not a big issue. Yes, it's an issue, but again, the two biggest issues is the coaching by Peterson and the play of Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
Those two combined, that's 95% of the problem right there.
So,
and the coaching one is easily fixed by running the football.
So we've highlighted the Eagles here, but let's switch gears and talk a little bit about the Packers. The Packers, as I mentioned,
they're going to kill us.
The Packers are third in the power rankings, which makes them number one in the NFC. And as Neil asked before, I will ask you, gentlemen, are the Packers going to be the Super Bowl representative, or have we seen this story before?
Nope, we've seen the story before. They're going to get run on by somebody in the playoffs. Somebody is going to get into the playoffs with a running game that can stymie the Packers defense because this is their problem. They showed it against Minnesota this year. They showed it against the 49ers twice last season. There have been a couple of other games this year in which pretty much they've been dominated up front with opposing running backs. And it's not like they have to, the opposing team runs for 200 yards. You can effectively slow the game down, get your lead back or your backfield combined to have over 120 yards rushing as a team, use play action, and this defense does not know how to react. Can the offense keep up? Yeah, but the defense is the problem.
But James, there are a couple of things in favor for the Packers this year. Firstly, they won't have to face a running team as powerful as San Francisco in the playoffs. That's unlikely, I think, at this point. Secondly, I think
unless Minnesota gets in.
I think they're a slightly better team as well than they were last year. The Packers, I think they look better on offense for sure in terms of the new head coach and the passing game looks better. So I think there's a couple of things there you can say positive for the Packers, but I still take. I think Breeze will be back, won't he, for the playoffs? Yeah. And I do think the Saints are just a slightly better all-round team than the Packers, and I think that they would be my favorites.
Even though they beat them, they're a game up because they beat them, but they beat a different team.
Yeah.
Saints.
Doc, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Doc, let me ask you this. Say everything plays chalk all the way through. It's Packers 1, Saints 2 in the conference going into the playoffs, and the NFC Championship game is in Green Bay with your Saints. Does Sean Payton go away from his game plan of spreading the ball out and ram the ball down their throats with Kamara and Murray?
No, I think it's pretty balanced. It'd have to be balanced. And if everybody's healthy, Packers are good for 28 points. I don't have any problem right now the way the Saints play on the road. There is no handicap at all with the Saints anymore on the road. It's Drew in cold weather. And if they protect them, I just think there's too many weapons with a healthy offensive line that they can't go toe-to-toe offensively. Mm-hmm. I think the difference there is Green Bay right now has a bottom 12 defense in the league on all quality stats, and the Saints are 1 or 2 in most. Now, if it stays the same, defense will be different against Aaron Rodgers. That's the difference in the game.
Yeah, totally agree.
Now, just for historical sake, these two teams met at Lambeau last year at the beginning of the year, and the Eagles won 34-27.
Mm-hmm. The lone bright spot of the season.
Just throwing that out there. The final 4:00 game is the New England Patriots at the Los Angeles Chargers. The Patriots are 16th in the power rankings. The Chargers are 24th. Oh, by the way, we didn't do an injury report. Do we need to do an injury report?
For the Packers, yes. Just one moment here because I just lost it. There we go. We've got cornerbacks, Josh Jackson, Kevin King on the injury report. Both of us is questionable. Linebacker Chris Barnes, safety Darnell Savage, tight end Mercedes Lewis, wide receiver Equanimus St. Brown, and Alan Lazard. Corey Lindsey, the center, is going to be out with an MCL sprain, and guard Lucas Patrick is questionable with a toe injury.
I also didn't do a weather report. I don't know if weather is going to be a problem.
Who cares? Philly's going to crap the bed. Zach Ertz is practicing. Fletcher Cox has a neck injury. T.A. Edwards is nursing a hamstring. And Rudy Ford shows up on the injury report. Let's just go to the next game.
It's just going to be cold. 36 degrees is the high in Green Bay for Sunday.
Again.
Patriots are in LA to face the Chargers, where it'll be warm, but they play indoors, so it won't matter anyway.
Wait,
Patriots,
Pod. Time out. Sorry. Inside joke. Chargers. Inside joke. No. All right. Never mind.
I don't get it.
No.
I'm lost.
Anthony Lynn. Clock mismanagement.
No.
Time out. No. I
Sorry.
got that in Los Angeles. Yeah.
Hope.
Patriots 16th, Chargers 24th. This is a pick 'em game. Vegas went, we don't know who the Patriots are either.
I know who you're picking.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. Mm-hmm.
Chargers blitz less than any other team, 16.5%, yet ranked 10th in hurry rate, 10.3%. Being able to pressure Cam Newton while dropping 7 will be the huge advantage the Chargers have. Yeah, no kidding, because the playbook is out on how you beat the Patriots. It is called force Cam Newton to throw the ball. That's what you need to do. That's it. If Cam Newton's throwing the ball, you're going to win the game. Chargers have run 821 offensive plays this year. That's the most in football. And they have the league's third-ranked offense, averaging 397.8 yards per game. But the Patriots' top 10 defense. We'll take care of that.
Pod's drug but kicked in again.
No, I was laughing because it clearly the Patriots did not. Patriots were not a top 10 defense, and Tom Brady threw more than 10 interceptions. So much for my outlook on the season. Anyway, the playbook, like I said, the playbook is in on how you beat the Patriots. You have to force Cam Newton to throw the ball. He can't. And thus, I think the Chargers will win. Now, that said, the other way that the Patriots end up winning these games, because I finally figured this out. The Patriots being at 16 is the perfect spot because I do believe the Patriots are the epitome of 8-8. I think they are the middle of the league. Is that because they have such a lousy roster of talent, they have the best coach ever on the sideline. And that is the reason why they end up winning these games. So the Chargers might have the best talent on the field, but they have probably one of the worst coaches on the sideline. And if they get out coached, the Patriots will have a chance to win, i.e. when a win is not a win last week versus the Arizona Cardinals, because that was terrible. The Patriots have just 8-8 themselves for the rest of time until Bill Belichick retires.
Jay, I do struggle greatly with this very popular media view that Anthony Lynn is a terrible coach. Now, he may get some things wrong, that's for sure. But if there's one thing you want from your head coach, and the most important thing other than winning games, is that you bring in a rookie quarterback and you develop him and make him look good and you bring him into the league and do that. And I haven't seen a better job by a coaching staff on a rookie quarterback for a long time. And I think that's fine to say it's maybe the offensive coordinator, the quarterback coach, whatever. But I think it's harsh, and it has to be taken into account with the coaching staff that they've done this with this young quarterback. It's been hugely impressive, and Lynn deserves his part in that.
Well, my counter to that, Neil, and this is based off the fact that we were able to watch exactly how Lynn evaluated his talent this year because the Chargers were part of Hard Knocks. And Lynn did not believe that Justin Herbert was this ready. Quarterback.
That's right.
He did not think he had this in him. And so I would knock him again for not being too properly able to evaluate his talent.
But that may also have been just a motivating factor. We don't know the relationship they have there. I think, I still think, Lynn deserves a lot of credit for.
He does, Neil. But be Scotland Yard for a second, okay? Just be Scotland Yard for a second. He's a 500 coach, 29-29, one playoff appearance. He's just 3-16 in one-score games. And if you watch last week's game, this is becoming a trend. He is mismanaging the clock. Now, when the coach is worth 3 points on mismanagement and you are losing that, your record in one-score games is that, You got to start pointing figure. I love Anthony Lynn. I was glad they're on Hard Knocks. I like his style as a coach. I like the overall personnel in that team. There's just something radically wrong with the way he is coaching right now, and it takes nothing away from the fact that they did draft a guy that I thought was going to be an NFL steady quarterback.
Yeah,
There's just something wrong right now.
Sure, but that's not to say, like any other human being, he can't get better.
Sure, absolutely.
And that's fine. I just think, do you want to rock the boat?
No.
Next season when
no. He's there. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to get rid of him when he's and risk bringing in a whole new setup, offensive, and all the rest of it. And
they got enough talent there to be a 4 or 5 game above 500 team with the right coaching and the right personnel, and they're getting back Derwin James next year, which is a game changer.
Yep.
He is a safety that changes the defense.
Sure.
So, but I just think right now his mismanagement of the clock right now has cost this team dearly this last half season. And it's something that's got to be considered. But
absolutely. You can't take away from that. That's for sure.
And I would add about changing the head coach here again is who you're going to get to replace him with the amount of turnover that's happening this year, right? We've already got an opening in Detroit, an opening in Atlanta. There's another
one. I have one in Jacksonville.
Plus, there's going to be one in Jacksonville. Isn't there another one already? Houston.
Yeah,
there's an opening. So there's already openings so far this season, and we know that there's going to be more to come. The Jets is going to be open,
and you cannot overestimate the importance of stability in a young quarterback's early seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So James is taking the Patriots. I will tell you this: I'm picking the Chargers simply because of the talent on the field. The Chargers should win. If the Patriots end up winning, will I be surprised? No, but. Just based on the talent, I have to take the Chargers.
Yeah.
James, what's the injury report?
Let's see. The Chargers, Casey Hayward, Kalen Ballage, Joe Reed, Joey Bosa, Trey Turner, Ty Long, Chris Harris Jr. All show up on the injury report as questionable for Sunday's game. All are expected to play for the Patriots.
And Austin Eckler is back. And that's the type of running back the Patriots defense will have trouble with because they have big lumbering linebackers.
Brian Balaga is on the injury report, so that's something to keep out for. He is, probably their best offensive lineman for the Chargers. For the Patriots, I think like out of these dozen names, half of these are superfluous, no reason whatsoever. I'll just go with the big ones here. Ryan Enzo has a hamstring and hand injury.
That's interesting. Well, the Patriots aren't throwing to the tight end. They're not throwing anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Let's see. Your kicker has a back injury. He was limited in practice yesterday.
He's had that back injury for a few weeks now, and he kicked a 50-yarder to win the game, so I'm not worried about the kicker.
J.C. Jackson suffered a lower back and left hip injury against the Cardinals on Sunday. Any new news on that?
That's the first I had heard that J.C. Jackson was hurt. That could be problematic because he's our second best cornerback after Stephon Gilmore, who, by the way, Stephon Gilmore went and talked a lot of trash and didn't back it up against DeAndre Hopkins. So Stephon Gilmore, zip it.
Your quarterback, Cam Newton, abs, limited in practice on Wednesday.
Yeah. A friend of mine went and picked up Jarrett Stidham just in case.
What? Oh, Matthew Slater, your wide receiver, is questionable, and
Special
so is guard
teamer.
Shaq Mason.
And Shaq Mason, I think he's been on the injury report all season too. But the Patriots actually have a couple of rookies on the offensive line, and Justin Haran and Michael Olmanomanu, who've played really well, and probably are the future of that offensive line.
So Jay, who is your starting quarterback week 1 next season?
Someone we don't know.
Right.
Rookie?
Someone not currently on the roster.
It's only going to be a rookie if they love one of those other guys that you mentioned that are zooming up the draft boards, but I don't know if they love them or not.
So looking at it right now, you've got, where are you in the whole? You're picking number 15. Oh, you're in the dead zone of the NFL draft.
Yeah. And we're probably not moving out of that spot either. That's probably where we're picking.
And that's the problem in the NFL. If you're a good team, then you're in the playoff hunt and it's all exciting. If you're a really bad team, you're in the hunt for the top picks, which is also very exciting. But if you're a sort of 7-9, 8-8 team, that is purgatory in the NFL. That is not the place you want to be. You want to be either at the really good end or the really bad end. Being in the middle, you're going nowhere because you can't get a quarterback and you're stuck with some mid.
But that doesn't apply to Belichick, though. He's already got his scouts and his people working in diners, finding these nobodies that went to AT&T, South Mississippi.
Went to Rutgers. Who's the quarterback at Rutgers right now? Because that's probably our next quarterback.
Yeah. Before you sup up any more of that gravy, Doc. Honestly, it's I mean, you're looking at Belichick. This is Belichick. This is Belichick without a star quarterback. He's making a really poor team average, and he'll continue to make poor teams average. But until he gets another star quarterback, he's not going to be at the cutting edge of the game. It's like any other coach. Take away their Hall of Fame quarterback, and they're okay. They're good guys, good coaches, but you cannot win consistently in this league if you don't have a top quarterback. I don't care if you're Vince Lombardi or Bill Belichick. You can't do it.
And that's why I love hearing talk of Matthew Stafford and Matt Ryan and Sam Darnold all being possibly available in free agency, because I guarantee you Bill Belichick will take any one of those guys, and this team won't be average for much longer after that.
You're not going to get to the top echelons of the game with Stafford, Ryan, or Darnold.
Oh, yes, we will.
Could. You got a lot of talent coming off of COVID, man.
Ryan, yes. Stafford, no. Darnold, undecided.
I don't think so. I think it's
definitely not Stafford, though.
Neil just doesn't want to see Sam Darnold and the Patriots because we predicted that was going to happen the day he was drafted. The day he was drafted, we all said Sam Darnold's going to be a New England Patriot in 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. And I wish Darnold all the success. And if he goes to the Patriots, then good luck to him. That's fine. But I just think Belichick won't be at the cutting edge of coaching until he gets a quarterback again. Like any coach. And that's not just to disparage Belichick at all, because he's obviously taken a really poor team and made them average, middle of the league. But yeah, every coach needs a quarterback.
And every Denver Broncos team needs a quarterback. Brings us to Sunday Night Football.
Yeah. Any quarterback, just anybody.
It is the Broncos who are 26th in the power rankings against the Kansas City Chiefs, who have regained the number one spot in our power rankings. Vegas has the Chiefs favored by 14. And we will start with James. Is there any healthy quarterback on the Denver Broncos this week?
Drew Lock is set to start this week.
There we go.
I think he's the only one cleared from the COVID list to play. As far as the four quarterbacks who was pretty much X out of last week's game. So, yeah, he is slated to be the starter. And they did sign someone recently. I'm blanking.
Didn't they sign here. Pat Shurmur's son?
Yes, that's right.
Yes,
I
believe so. Yes, they did.
All right. I don't know how much we really need to get into this because it's the Chiefs and the Broncos. I do have Nick who has written in, it is the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Denver Sick Donkeys. Drew Lock expected back from COVID protocols in time for this game, and it's a good thing too, because in his last start against the Chiefs in Week 7, Denver managed to just barely lose to the Chiefs 43-16, their 10th straight loss to Kansas City. Nonetheless, for some reason, this not Mahomes Brady 4 was deemed important enough to feature in prime time. This is still a Denver staff that is likely coaching for its jobs, and the Chiefs have been caught sleeping a few times this season, but the line at Chiefs minus 14 feels about right. Not that anyone needs reminders, but start your Chiefs in fantasy this week. Prediction, Chiefs Glue Factory defeats the ailing Stallions 35-13.
All right.
I don't know if there needs to be anything else said.
No.
I think that's well put.
KC 10 straight, 9 covered the spread, 9. Drop it. Yep.
Yeah. The Chiefs, Bashard Breeland shows up on the injury report with an illness. For the Broncos, Jerry Jeudy's nursing an ankle injury. Philip Lindsay's nursing a knee injury. And
by the way, this is also one of James Locke's, Neil.
Oh, of course it is. It's 14 points. I mean, it's just scraped into his lock criteria.
All right, Monday Night Football. That might be the quickest Sunday Night Football preview we've ever done in the history of
There's
this
not much
show.
to be said. Wait, so Monday
to put this one to
football.
bed, Pod, why don't we do a drinking game just to watch Mahomes and that offense against the Broncos? Well,
No, 'cause I have to work the next morning.
shot of tequila, shot of tequila for every single score over the course of 3 hours, something like
Ooh.
that. Yeah,
How many
no.
backflips will Tyreek Hill do into the end zone this week?
yeah.
All right, Washington football team is at the Pittsburgh Steelers. The football team is 23rd. The Steelers fall to second on the back of a horrible performance on Wednesday night. The Steelers are favored by 8.5 points in this game, which I think is rather high. Pittsburgh has allowed a league low 177 first downs. In second place, Washington at 200. I do have an email though, Neil, from Zach Soderberg, who walked into me watching the highlights of the Washington football team Pittsburgh game and said, Terry McLaurin, best Washington football team wide receiver in history. And I went, Art Monk has a few things to say to you, son. But it did bring up the fact that how far up the list is Terry McLaurin on the list of all-time great Washington wide receivers?
Well, I can't go all time because I wasn't around then. But from what
Stop lying.
from what I've seen, I mean, I always loved the days of the when we had Monk and Sanders and Clark. They were the great Washington receivers at that time.
I don't want to relive that nightmare ever again.
No, they were terrific. I mean, Art Monk, of course, for a long time led many of the sort of big records in wide receivers before Jerry Rice sort of started to take all these things. But he was he's of course probably the great wide receiver. But Terry McLaurin, he has made a fabulous start to his NFL career. He clearly is outperforming everybody else in that offense for Washington. And he's doing it with, I mean, you look at DK Metcalf and you can say, yeah, obviously a fabulous player, but he's doing it with Wilson. Look at McLaurin. He's doing it with Kyle Allen, Dwayne Haskins. We've got obviously Smith now.
Alex
so
Smith.
So he's not doing this with a great quarterback. So terrific start to his career.
Alex Smith is a good quarterback, Neil.
Yeah, but he's no Russell Wilson, is he?
No,
and not at this stage in his career, at least. So yeah, I mean, McLaurin is. And sorry, that's not to be disparaging towards Metcalf because he's been superb, but McLaurin up there with him as a great young wide receiver, and just a terrific player to watch. Great yards after the catch and all that, and slowly developing as a decent route runner. So, and a leader on the team for sure. But let me say one thing about this game before you start rocking about how good Washington can be. Washington has 4 wins this season. 2 of those wins are against Dallas Cowboys and their backup quarterbacks. The third win against the Cincinnati Bengals, who we were losing to until Burrow went out and they brought in their backup quarterback and we won. And of course, our first win of the season was against James's Eagles, who we know have had a litany of problems throughout the season. So don't get too carried away with the chances for Washington here. Steelers are a professional organization who know how to win across the board. And as much as I would like to see Washington do well, and of course they've got their 4th ranked defense and all the rest of it, Pittsburgh are just in a different category of team to Washington. So I would expect the Steelers, even though they've had all their problems with journey and logistics or last couple of weeks, I think they'll probably win this game quite easily in the end.
But when are the Steelers practicing? They're not practicing today. They're going to have a day off today.
Well, you'd have to ask yourself, Jay.
They're probably practicing Friday, but then they're only going to do a walkthrough over the weekend.
But Jay, come on. How much practice do you need to play Washington?
Well, I
probably
guess,
not a whole lot.
Well, if you're the Philadelphia Eagles, 15 weeks.
But so let's go back to the stat that I started everything with, and that is Pittsburgh is number one. Washington is right there, number two.
Yeah, Doc's not got some stats because they're great.
In their past 10 games,
down stats. Come on.
Here's the Steelers. In their past 10 games, the Steelers, when they've been favored by double digits, can't cover crap.
Mm.
In
Well,
the
they'll
past
see lots
10
of
as a
crap
double
against
digit,
Washington.
yeah, Washington's gone 7-3 against the spread, 1-9 straight up. Right, but since the 2019 season started, Washington horrible straight up. But I'm telling you, the Steelers tend to crap the bed when they're 10 plus point favorites.
Well,
don't know why.
Washington's been very good.
8.5 point favorites in this one.
Washington's been very good against the pass this year with their pass rush and reasonable secondary.
They covered against the Jaguars. They were 10-plus point favorites over Jacksonville. They beat them 27-3. That was just 2 weeks ago.
Anyway, it's a lot of conversation for you guys who are all choosing Pittsburgh to win, no doubt.
No.
I don't know, Neil. I'm on the fence.
I'm locking in Pittsburgh. I'm locking Pittsburgh, yeah.
Oh, now I'm definitely no longer on the fence. You want to see how it's done, Neil? Upset special.
Hey,
Adam and Eve on a raft, a cup of muck, and an upset special.
there we go.
Done.
There
I'm
you go.
taking the Washington football team to knock off the undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers.
See that, James? That's how it's done.
Here's
James.
the thing, Neil. I've been higher on your team than you have been all season long. And quite frankly, I have no business being that high on them. But I do believe in that Washington football team defense. I do believe in Alex Smith. And I do believe that they may have found the right formula. And I do believe that they're catching the Steelers at the right time. Yep. I think this is all about timing. When we talk about luck in the season, I think Washington is getting Pittsburgh at a lucky point in time that I think they can, in fact, pull the upset off. And I'll put my name on it.
Jay, I've got to say, I'm impressed. I can see your rationale makes total sense, and I hope you're right. So let's go for it. And James, that's how you do an upset special. Yeah, learn from this.
Yeah,
I don't do upset specials.
And by the way, James, they're 1-7 against the spread when they're favored by double digits the last 8. Probably that was the one game.
The one against Jacksonville.
They're 7-1 straight up, but they're 1-7 against the spread. This is not going to be a 2-touchdown blowout. Believe me.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's really too early to get an injury report. I mean, the other thing, Neil, as we mentioned earlier, is Bud Dupree is gone for the season, so that's going to be a huge hit to that Steelers defense.
Really do we TJ Watt getting a hamstring injury between now and Monday?
Yeah, no.
Possible.
No.
All right. So that's the first Monday night game. That's technically not Monday night. 5 p.m. So it's still afternoon. And by the way,
I have to.
I'm not sure. Not sure if this
see.
game is being nationally televised. I do not have a national televised station for this game.
Can I just ask you guys? I mean, we've had a few instances this season where we've had these games on at like you say, Jay, 5 o'clock. I think last night was 3:40 or something.
Yeah, 3:40.
How is it? Because I kind of thought that in America you had the kind of same working rhythm that we do, like 9 to 5 or whatever sort of thing.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Who's watching games at 3:40? And why is it on at
me?
Why is it not on at 5:30 or something?
Me.
Well, yesterday was because of the Rockefeller Center tree lighting ceremony, apparently.
Yeah. And NBC was not messing with that.
NBC said the advertisers for this particular program are much more valuable to us than the advertisers for your little football game, even though the football game would have brought them double the rating, probably triple the ratings for a stupid tree lighting. All has to do about the money. And NBC was making more money from the NBC tree lighting than they were going to make from the football game.
This tree lighting, is that similar to when the president pardons a turkey? Because that's like what the
similar.
God,
similar.
Dude, that girlfriend had it on in the background with the Rockettes, and it was I had to go.
So what is this? Is somebody just turning tree lights on or something?
No,
yeah, they bring out celebrities. They sing a song, and then they count it down. Santa Claus shows up, waves, and then they go bing, and the lights come on, and yay!
Oh, yeah.
Really? That's it?
Rockets kick their legs up in the air and all that stuff. Yeah.
Wow, you foreigners are weird.
That's tease worthy. All right.
There's somebody not from the Highlands of Scotland.
No, we usually at this time of year we usually grab an English person and burn them at the stake.
Oh man.
The Monday night game proper that's on ESPN is the Buffalo Bills versus the San Francisco 49ers. The Bills are 7th in the power rankings. The Niners, as I mentioned on the Tuesday show, the San Francisco Arizona XFLers, this game being played in Arizona, actually, doing okay for themselves despite everything being thrown their way.
I tell you, Jay, there's nothing that says Christmas like the smell of burning flesh.
Let's see which team will burn more flesh in this one. The Bills are favored by 1.5 points in this game. I got nothing for you guys on this one yet. So let's see here. Doc, you're going with the Niners in this one.
Yeah, Bills D's leaky, man. That's it. Bills, and we don't know what Josh we're getting. I just think right now Debo could be the diff. That's it. Just a hunch.
My friend's fantasy team loves Debo Samuel.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I would snatch him up in a second for my school, for my roster.
But it's been about 10 days he's been healthy, so he's due an injury at any point.
That's also true.
Neil.
That's also true. Neil, I mean, I'm going to take here's the thing. I'm going to take the Bills because I just called them the San Francisco, Arizona XFLers. These guys are taking puddle jumpers back and forth between San Francisco and Arizona to practice. I just don't, the condition, everything is being put in the 49ers place that they got to jump over. And yes, they continue to jump over hurdles and win, but eventually those hurdles catch up to you.
Mm-hmm.
Neil,
Todd, how many years since the Buffalo Bills won the East?
20.
It's been a long time.
5?
Quarter of a century.
25 or 26 years, yeah.
Quarter of a century.
I mean,
can you believe that? I mean, if that's not motivation is all self. But if that's not motivation to play out of their mind and play like flames are coming out their ass, I don't know what would. But
I like Buffalo's toughness. I like the way I know they lost a game a few weeks ago against the Cardinals. They lost it in that sort of crazy ending to the game.
But 5-0 their last 5, right? They're 4-1 in the last 5.
Yeah. But I thought in that game they showed tremendous character coming back in the fourth quarter to take the lead again. But my one concern, and I've gone for Buffalo here because I think Buffalo will edge it. But my one concern would be San Francisco's running game. And I don't think Buffalo, people always speak about Buffalo, what a super tough defense and all the rest of it. But I think that defense looks a bit leaky against the run. And I wonder, that's the way San Francisco will win this game. They'll win it by running the ball on Buffalo. So if Buffalo can stop that or stop it enough, I think they've got enough to win this game. But it'll be close. I actually think this will be a really, really, really good game.
Yeah.
It should be fun to watch.
Yeah. So my concern is the best unit on the field on Sunday on Monday night in this game will be the 49ers defense.
Ooh,
and
really?
Yeah, I honestly believe that.
Pass defense, maybe.
And look, we mentioned it earlier before we came on air. The game the Bills played against the Chargers last week, neither quarterback looked like they were NFL ready to play. I'm sorry. There were mistakes all over the place. I think combined between them, they had, 5-7 turnovers between the two of them, between the interceptions and the fumbles. It looked ugly. And for everything that Allen was doing to round himself into a quarterback I could actually put my faith behind, the fact that they won the game doesn't take away from the way he played, which is horrible. And I feel like they're relying on too many gadget plays in the red zone to get touchdowns. If the ball's not in his hands, it should be going to a running back via handoff.
Agreed.
He's got to do a better job in the red zone of making decisions and getting the ball to his wide receivers. They can't relying on gadget plays where Cole Beasley is throwing touchdown passes inside the 20. That doesn't instill confidence in your quarterback, not from my perspective. And I'm not saying that, he's a horrible player or anything. Just the last couple of weeks have not been that great to me.
Agreed.
What's the injury report look like on this one, James? Do we have anything early?
The Bills don't have anything right now at the time of this recording, but the Niners have Tevin Coleman as questionable. Quan Williams, the cornerback, also questionable.
I mean, we've gone through this entire show without mentioning any COVID-related people missing the game, and I have to say, we've given the NFL a bunch of snot for the way that they've handled COVID so far this season, and they're going to continue to get a bunch of snot from us on that. But the one thing I think that they did was smart was they didn't have teams practice on Monday or Tuesday this week, assuming that all these guys went, partied with their families on Thanksgiving, and gave them the 4-day incubation period before they went back to the stadiums to get tested. And now we're probably going to see a litany of positives. I guarantee it. There's going to be a game this week affected by COVID.
Not. I truly hope not. Look, I've got NFL Network on in the background right now. I'm looking up. It's NFL Live.
It's still too early, James. When this news comes out? This news comes out when I hit publish on the podcast. That's when the news comes out.
Oh, gosh. Well, we still got one more game to cover.
Hey, you know what? I think we all, seeing we're all junkies here, the fact that we've got this much football to this point in the season, and for some odd reason with masking tape and Elmer's glue, they're putting it together. I am thankful for every week we get a full weekend because it's an anomaly. In this time we are in right now, the ability to talk football with you guys weekly and watch that amount of games in the middle of this chaos is a blessing. And you're right, Pod. At any moment, things could get off the rails real quick because we're already talking bubbles for the playoffs, but let's just enjoy it while we got it. And if it comes down, it comes down. We shouldn't be surprised.
I think the NFL takes a lot of criticism over every month of every year, but I do believe they probably deserve a bit of plaudits for the way they've handled this season to get us playing football, like you say, Doc, week in, week out for the season. And so far, they haven't had to get into this Week 18 thing or expand the playoffs or whatever. So I think a bit of kudos to the NFL for the way they've
put it this way, Neil. The NFL has been living since week 1 with an inner loin injury.
Yep. Certainly, yeah. Yep.
Well, and just remember, this is the last of the bye weeks. So while getting through it with the masking tape and the Elmer's glue, it's going to be a lot more difficult to do it with this last month.
Yep.
More Monday and Tuesday games.
Well, speaking of Tuesday Night Football. And that is the final game of the week. It is the Dallas Cowboys at the Baltimore Ravens. This was supposed to be the game that was going to be played this evening, but it has been moved to Tuesday. The Dallas Cowboys, 27th in the power rankings. The Baltimore Ravens only fall to 14. However, I will tell you that in those power rankings, the Baltimore Ravens are the team with the most disagreement amongst the rankers, with someone ranking them as high as 7, which is outrageous. I will find out who that is in a moment. And someone ranking them as low as 18, which I think this is the area that they belong.
Right.
18 might be a little low, but that is the middle of the pack is where the Baltimore Ravens belong at this particular point in time. While I go look up who ranked the Ravens 7, you guys are all taking the Ravens and not giving this might be another one, Neil. Prepare yourself, strap in. I'm ready to pull the trigger again.
Jay, I think okay, it's probably a bit of a stretch for Washington to beat the Steelers, but it's a massive leap of faith to see the Cowboys beating anybody at the moment. They are, I mean, we saw them against Washington, and it was 41-17 or something at the end. And that was a fair score. That really was. Dallas are terrible. I mean, if Elliott isn't getting stuffed at the line of scrimmage, he's coughing up the football without being tackled. And it's just that these vaunted wide receivers are nowhere to be seen. And the quarterback situation, offensive line, Defense, it's just an absolute shambles in Dallas. Absolute shambles, and I'm loving it.
So when I say crazy, and I refer to the rankings, there's only one person I could possibly be talking about.
Jared.
However, Jared has a twin whose name is Titans Jordan, also ranking Baltimore at number 7.
Wow.
Which is probably why Baltimore ended up. So yeah, the next highest after that is the next highest is 12. By the way, Don, our Ravens super fan, whom I haven't heard from in months. Hi, Don. How are you? He ranked the Baltimore Ravens at 12.
Who had them at 18? Who was that?
At 18, I got to look that up. I had them at 15.
I would say one thing for the Ravens, they're going to be in trouble very soon because we've seen some draft picks being taken from some teams this year for COVID-related mishaps. They are going to get slaughtered at some point.
But it's those teams have pretty much primarily been the Saints and the Raiders, and recently the Patriots for repeated offenses caught on camera during games on the sidelines.
Yep.
So the Ravens haven't fallen into that. Harbaugh's not, having any of that crap around there. Look, yes, the outbreak makes this whole situation look bad, especially if you're a Steelers fan. You can curse the league from here to kingdom come. I understand this is your second game that got moved around. You essentially lost your original bye week because of the Titans. You lost your Thanksgiving night.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the Ravens. and Broncos fans are out there in Denver like, hey, what the hell? What about us? Because they had no quarterbacks. It's a containment issue. And I definitely want to put this out here. Baltimore couldn't contain this fast enough. When the first reports of Dobbins and Ingram, came out on, Tuesday? And, we recorded before Thanksgiving last week. We assumed it was only going to be the two of them and one of the defensive linemen. And pretty much, as Pod said, the moment he hit publish, 5 more names pop up. So automatically Thursday night is out because now we have to do tracing research, see who was near who, make sure no one else was a close proximity at risk for a positive test. Yeah, it gets pushed to Sunday and then to Tuesday and then to last night. The containment process is something that we probably don't give each individual team enough credit for how quickly most of them, and again, the two outliers here are the Texans and the Titans and the Ravens, who pretty much dragged, things got out of control within the span of a whole week. But for the most part, every other team, once, they have their COVID cases pop up on Monday or Tuesday, they're doing a great job of quickly identifying close contacts, containing it so that the rest of the team is available to play for Sunday or Monday night.
So what do you think? They're going to lose a second-round pick or a third-round pick?
I don't think they lose anything, honestly.
They're definitely losing.
They're going to get absolutely hammered. See, losing that Thanksgiving game, having to move that was already a fourth-round pick as far as I'm concerned. They're going to get slaughtered for this.
I don't think they lose anything.
Raiders lost a pick. The Ravens are losing a pick.
They're losing
at least of equal value that the Raiders ended up getting.
More, I would say more.
Well, the Raiders were egregious as far as their repeat offenses. You have players on the sideline not wearing masks. John Gruden basically not wearing masks for the entire game. That's happened at least 3 times this season. Coupled with the fact that, Daniel Waller's charity event, nobody wore a mask for that. And then you have things with them getting together outside of the practice facility together without masks. So for the Raiders, their losing the draft pick was, again, the repeatable offenses, just doing the same stupid things, not wearing a mask, not social distancing. Every single week of the season, they've been doing something. So, anyway, that's why they lost the pick.
Who was number 18? Who ranked them 18, Jay?
James and MJ ranked them 18.
James, honestly, James.
I'm sorry. Look,
18?
Ranked them. Yeah. Look, at least it balances out.
Where'd you rank them, Mr. High on his Baltimore Ravens horse?
Sadly.
You did not rank them.
No, they must have got lost in the post this week. Oh. Jay, sorry about that.
Wait, did he do any rankings at all?
No, Neil didn't do his rankings this week.
Wait, Neil didn't do any rankings. What the hell?
I know. Yeah. I was being so busy this week and didn't get around to it. And then I saw your email. I thought I'd go and do it, and I forgot.
Do me a favor. Find the bus, throw yourself under it.
I would like to.
Thanks,
I'd
James.
like to point out, ladies and gentlemen, as I peel back the curtain, I pleaded for the rankings to be done since Tuesday to all the super fans,
I put
and
something
even
on the
mentioned.
chat last
I
night.
was about to give you credit, James. So hold on. I even mentioned that. Hey, I think we can all make an assumption on the outcome of the game happening on Wednesday. So please do your rankings and then update them if necessary Thursday morning.
Yeah.
And then James noticed that the rankings hadn't been done and put in our little Slack channel, hey, everybody, do your rankings. And Neil missed it. I mean, it's not that. I mean, I do them every Monday. Every Monday morning, I do my rankings, and then I make an adjustment if necessary based on the Monday night game.
I'm going to put it down to the time zone differences.
Sure. Go right ahead.
Really?
By the way, all of this was me just stretching things out to say you guys convinced me I'm going to take the Ravens. Lamar Jackson. I'm assuming Lamar Jackson's available for this game. He did in fact test positive, however, for COVID, which makes his timeline a little bit different than someone that's just placed on the COVID list.
Right, and that's the thing. He is one of those positive tests that they're waiting to come back for because, again, they have to test negative twice consecutively. So they're just waiting for those negative tests to come back. He is expected to be cleared to play for this game against Dallas. That's the only thing I can say about Baltimore because, again, they played last night, still waiting for an updated injury report on who came out of that game healthy or not. For the Cowboys, though, Zach Martin is out. Cameron Fleming is doubtful, and cornerback Anthony Brown is questionable.
Yeah, I will say if it's RG3 starting under center, I will flip to the Cowboys. Right.
If it's RG3, I will still take the Ravens because, I mean, he can still run. Look, he can still run the football. Granted, look, RG3 every bit of a quarterback who is 30 years old, who hasn't had regular playing time because he had the 40-yard run, and then the next run after that was about, 8 to 10 yards, and he ran out of bounds, and he pulled up with a pulled hamstring. Eventually, he left the game halfway through the fourth quarter with that hamstring wrapped up. He just needs the repetition, whatever. And
he needs more than a walkthrough. He needs more than a walkthrough.
He can look. They can power run that ball. They don't necessarily have to throw it that much. And the Cowboys are a defense I'm not scared to throw on. I mean, unless your quarterback is Carson Wentz.
All right, so that completes Week 13's preview. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Panthers were the teams on bye. The Bucs 11th in the power rankings. The Panthers 22nd in our power rankings.
Bucs are too high.
If you want Doc's recipes, you can check us out, facebook.com/NFU podcast. Also, our website, nextfanup.wordpress.com is where you can get all of Doc's recipes. At NFU podcast is where you can reach us on Twitter. Nextfanup@gmail.com is the way to email us. We love to hear from you. Josh has been emailing us all season about his cruise ship idea, which is not going to happen, not even for the playoffs. By the way, speaking of bubbles for the playoffs, Goodell said that's not going to happen. So the NFL seems to be pretty keen on what they're doing. The only thing I heard him say, they're considering making them even tighter. So maybe they go to what they said, the individual 16-team bubbles where nobody's allowed to leave the hotel or the premises.
Not 16, 14, just 14.
It's just 14 teams? All right. Well, yeah. I went to Emerson College. My math is bad. All right. So thank you, Doc.
All right, boys.
For everything, joining us on today's podcast. Neil and James on pod. All the other super fans, there you have it.
Dear friends and colleagues, saying goodbye is never easy. I believe we can all feel proud of what we have done together. And through it all, you have maintained your professionalism and commitment and remained true to the spirit of the Charter. That principle.
We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Yeah, we don't get thanks, James, do we? No, thanks, Doc. Thanks for coming, Doc. Yeah. Oh, Neil and James, yeah. Unfortunately, you two turned up as usual.